Hey, what's up everybody? It's Chef Matty B. I'm back here at TA in Kitchener. Today we're gonna be taking a look at this beautiful Thermador Induction cooktop. We're gonna be making a poached apple with a hazelnut crumble. We got a little vanilla ice cream to go with it. Classic, delicious, super simple, and definitely gonna highlight all the great features that this Thermador Induction has to offer. We're gonna get a poaching liquid set up here. For the apples, we're gonna be using not a broth, instead we're gonna be using more of a simple syrup. So I got a little Demerara sugar here. For this syrup, we don't have to be precise. Normally a simple syrup, you'd wanna use like 1:1 sugar to water. With this one, it's not as precise because we are gonna be poaching with it, as long as there's enough sugar that you can really taste it and get that sweetness out of it. That's the important part. So to this amount of sugar, we're gonna add water, probably, you'll see it'll be about equal amounts. And we wanna get some really delicious flavor in this syrup, so we got a couple of spices. We're gonna be adding some bay leaf, which is great when you're doing apples. It's a really nice underlying taste that really elevates your apple flavor, so that'll add a nice flavor to the apples. And then we have your classic cinnamon and clove to go with it too. So now that we got everything in the pan, I'm gonna show you one of the best features of Induction. It's the quick boil, or as they call it here, is the power boost. So we're gonna turn on the Induction, we're gonna switch over to power boost, and then we're gonna get this water boiling super fast. You're gonna see it's only gonna take like a minute or two to boil, especially when you're poaching something and trying to get that flavor into the liquid. You wanna bring it to a boil first and then bring your temperature back down to a poaching temperature instead of just bringing it up to a poaching temperature and leaving it there. You really wanna pull the flavor out of the spices when you're doing this one. So now we're gonna get the apples ready. I like using Honeycrisp when I'm doing these. They're a little bit softer of an apple to start. The starches are a little bit bigger, so they're gonna do a little bit better poaching, get a little softer while still holding their shape. So when you're poaching them, you can leave the skins on. I find that's not the best texture when you have the nice soft apple and then a little bit chewier of a skin. So I'm gonna be peeling my apples and then cutting them up. So now that the liquids come up to a boil, we're just gonna slide it off so it doesn't get too carried away. And I'm gonna change the setting to be the heat shift that the Thermador offers, where the closer it is to you, the warmer it is. It breaks up the element into 3 separate zones. So close to you is gonna be high heat, the middle is gonna be a middle heat, and then further away from you is gonna be a low heat. That's gonna be really nice when we're poaching. It's gonna give us a lot of control over our temperature here. With this heat shift setting, it's awesome because by default, it's gonna use 1.5 as its lowest, 5 as its medium, and 9 as its highest. 9's too high for us, so we can actually go in, move the pan where we want it. When it updates, then we can change the setting to be whatever temperature. It's gonna remember that. So if I want it to go to a maximum of 7 instead of 9, it'll remember that. As I slide the pan around, it'll just cap out at 7. It'll set its middle temperature to 3 or whatever I want it to be at. So we're gonna go back to the apples now. We're gonna get them cut up. This is where you have a lot of play. If you wanna just core it and have apple slices, you can do that. I'm gonna go for more of an apple chunk that I can slice after it's poached. So now we got our apples floating in that liquid. We're gonna let them poach for about 18 to 20 minutes. So not too crazy long, but it'll give them time to absorb all of that flavor, get nice and tender from the poaching liquid, and become super delicious. So actually you can see this poaching liquid a little too high. Now that we got the apples in there, it's bubbling a little more than we'd like. This is where that heat shift comes in handy. I'm just gonna slide it up to the middle, and it's gonna detect that I've moved the pan. It's gonna turn it down to that middle temperature that I've set of 6. That's gonna be a little bit lower for us. I could even move it up another notch forwards where I have it set to a 4, so that if it's too carried away or I wanna let it just sit for a little longer, I can slide it all the way up there too. So what I like to do while these are poaching is I like to get a little something to go along with it ready. So today I'm gonna be doing a hazelnut crumble to go with it, give it a little bit of crunch, and who doesn't love hazelnuts? They're a little creamy, they go really great with apples, and we're gonna use a little bit of that poaching liquid to get that flavor into it too. It's all gonna come together in the end. So I've got some hazelnuts here. Before I toast them off in the pan, I'm gonna give them a quick rough chop, and then once they're done, I'm gonna chop them up again. So now I'm gonna do these hazelnuts in a pan because we're using Induction and I can have that fine control over your temperature. If you don't have Induction at home, I'd recommend using an oven for this where you don't have to worry about them scorching on one side. But I love that about Induction. I can have that really gentle low heat and just toss them around and have even more control than even an oven can offer you when toasting nuts like this. And we'll get this set to probably around a 4 or a 5. We want it to be pretty gentle with the toasting. You don't wanna go too crazy with the heat. The undersides are really starting to take on the color from the poaching liquid. It's gonna be absorbing all of the flavors, and you can already tell that they're a lot softer than they were before. This is why you want to be flipping them over, because the other side was pretty raw still. The hazelnuts have started getting a little bit of color on it, and when you're doing this at home, you'll smell them. They'll smell a little bit more nutty than they are when they're raw. That's when you know that they're ready to add in the butter and the poaching liquid to get that flavor going and start caramelizing them. So now that your apples have been going for about 14 to 15 minutes, we gave them the flip. We're gonna poke them and make sure that they're getting nice and tender. I like using this cake tester. If you don't have one of these at home, a meat fork works really nice, or even just a metal skewer. These are just a little bit thinner, so it's not gonna leave as big of a mark when you poke it. So let's see how they're doing. So you can see the cake tester goes straight in and out, nice and smooth. There isn't really any resistance. I mean, you guys can't really see that there's no resistance on camera. You'll be able to feel it. It's not mushy yet, but it definitely is done. That's one of the other really hard parts about poaching. When it's cooked in the pan, it's overcooked on the plate. When it's cooked for the plate, it's undercooked in the pan. So right now, you might poke it and think, I should give this another 2 to 3 minutes. No, you wanna take them out now and let them rest, and that's where they're gonna become that perfect softness. One of the best things about induction, one of the things that I love the most as a messy cook, is how easy it is to clean. Just a damp cloth and boom, it wipes right up. No effort, you don't need any special cleaners, just a cloth and some soapy water and you're clean and ready to go. So now our apples are done, our hazelnuts are done. I'm gonna go through the hazelnuts one more time with a knife, chop them a little bit finer. One of the other things that I love about induction is I'm working on it with my cutting board. When it's off, it's not hot. There's nothing intrusive, there's no elements or anything like that sticking up, no grills like a gas range would have. So I can work on it like it's just an extra part of my countertop. You can see I got my cutting board on it right now. I don't need all that extra space. It is my extra space. It's time to plate it on up. So this is why I like doing the squares, is I can take this and I can do some nice slices with it. Then I like to fan them out, give them a little bit more distance. Also, it gives you a chance to see the inside is nice and poached. It's no longer raw. It's gonna be a nice mouth texture instead of being like crunchy, but it's also not gonna be mushy. I like using a smaller plate and popping it right down the middle, just cause I like being fancy like that. We're gonna grab our ice cream. We got a vanilla ice cream to go with it. You could also use like a caramel ice cream if you like. I just like sticking to the classics. And finish it off with a little bit of our hazelnut crumble. And there you go. A nice simple dessert, lots of flavor packed into that. Go on out, grab some apples and give this recipe a try, guys. So once again, I'm Chef Matty B. Today we're at TA in Kitchener. We're looking at the Thermador Induction. Love this thing, so much precision with it. A lot of smart engineering went into it with moving the pans around to control your heat. I think you guys will love this induction cooktop. I loved working on it. If you give this recipe a try, let us know down in the comments and we'll see you guys next time.